So let's talk about some superhero-dom, guys. The second biggest superhero event of the year just happened. The first one is obviously Avengers Endgame, the greatest film ever made, period. And the second biggest event is happening on the CW, Crisis on Infinite Earths, the 5-show super mega crossover hit that we have been building up to for a very long time. And I saw the first 3 episodes of that along with the Black Lightning tie-in, and I must say it is absolutely fantastic. We're not necessarily going into spoilers here in this case, but we just wanted to take a moment to kind of address and acknowledge how big this crossover is in like every way imaginable, kind of bigger than Endgame. I mean, I'll start with Arrow in this case just because it started everything for the Arrowverse. I didn't think the show would be any good, honestly. It came out just a couple years after Smallville ended, which felt like Snoresville to me. I mean, you have a Green Arrow show where Green Arrow isn't even in the title. It's just called Arrow, so I don't know what to think of this show. I only started watching it in the first place because Flash dropped on Netflix, and I heard that it was a better, more comic booky show. So that's the only reason why I got into this in the first place, because I wanted to get to Flash. But if I'm going to be a faithful fan, I'm going to start from the beginning. And while the show kind of took on very Batman-esque themes, like it was a Batman show, but with Green Arrow in the lead, it actually delivered, in my opinion. Great choreo, great fight sequences, really good character development, and strong villains from the get-go. And I was very surprised. It didn't feel like Smallville at all, which I was very appreciative of. You get to Flash, and, I mean, eventually Arrow adopts this comic book-like mentality of having more flashy villains and having more characters that are based in comic book lore that's not just kind of taking and adapting things. You kind of put them into Flash. And it worked a lot better from the get-go. It just was really strong. I mean, you're getting into Legends of Tomorrow. I mean, a TV C-list Justice League. Yes, please, sign me up any day of the week. Still waiting on Green Lantern. I mean, the show has changed tones over the last few seasons from like more serious to like more comical stuff, and you know, some people like that. I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of it, but that's okay. It's still a great show regardless. I mean, you get to Supergirl, and Supergirl to me, I think, is the best one out of all of these. I think it's political themes. I think it's themes rooted in modern immigration and the political climate. For me, it's really knocked it out of the park. It's telling better Superman stories on screen than Superman ever did based on what we've had. That's just my opinion. Take that as you will. And you have Black Lightning also included into that mix. Now, he's technically not a part of the full 5-show crossover, but they still held up his show to get... can't remember the actor's name. Cress Williams, that's his name. To get Cress Williams from Georgia, where they shoot the show, into Vancouver to shoot with everybody else. So that show's put on hold too. Separate universe from everything in regards to the shows, but he delivers in his appearance that he makes into the middle of the crossover. And you also have Batwoman, the last of our shows here, which just premiered in the fall. And it's getting there in terms of character development, but it's got a nice, strong start. We're going to have my brother, Parker Henry, talking about that in a little bit, which we're very, very excited about. And you look at all of these shows, Arrow, Flash, Legends of Tomorrow, Supergirl, Black Lightning, Batwoman. All 6 of these shows, all 6 of these television show production schedules, they all had to be coordinated for this crossover. There's a limited schedule to get everything done. They shot all of this back in September, to be released in December, just this past week. We've spent hours upon hours of being invested in all of these characters, hundreds of hours. I've certainly spent a ton of time, like probably over 400 hours or something. There's a lot of episodes at this point.
Just for Arrow.
Just for Arrow alone. But then add everything else into it because I'm a diehard fan of this universe. And I mean, it's just there's such a smaller budget. Such a smaller budget that we have to work with, you know, and it's really incredible what this crossover, what this universe has been able to accomplish in such a short time frame. It's more ambitious than Endgame. Endgame, you had months planned out where you could deliver this movie, but they were only able to start this in the summer, you know, and the fact that they're able to deliver on such strong storytelling and have there be such an incredible payoff of everything that's kind of been built up over the last few years, it's really remarkable. And I have to thank Mark Guggenheim and his team for putting together such a great crossover thus far. We still have 2 more episodes coming out in January to finish up this end of all worlds saga, and I'm super stoked for it. I know everyone else off camera is also super stoked for it, and we hope that you tune back in again in January to see the conclusion of this fantastic saga. And even after all of this, when Arrow's in its last season right now, when Arrow ends, we're still going to get 2 more spin-offs afterwards. So we're going to go up to like 7 shows on the CW encompassing all of these characters. So if you need to take a breather and figure out what you're going to be watching next year, by all means do, because it's a lot to handle. I had to take a break last year to get ready for everything, because 5 shows was a lot for me.